Hey everybody, Psychosaurus is here. Welcome back to H1 Pass Online. And today, I think it's time I spoke about the advisor issues. Now, I'm just gonna continue with I did the gear in my previous one. Unfortunately, it got a little bit overshadowed with the changes to Zabol Quest, so unfortunately, there was some short debate on Discord, but unfortunately, the focus only went towards those quest reworks. So unfortunately, but hey, if you want to check it out, make sure to check that one out, because this one is gonna a little bit follow it as well, because probably some arguments could be brought here as well. But overall, I think anyone who's trying to at least some discussion. But anyway, I want to bring some more discussion, and that's going to be about the advisors. And as you know me, I've been critical, especially towards the latest advisory work, which I keep calling absurd advisory work, and in my opinion, it was terrible, as it just power crept so many advisors on to incredible level, goddamn. But anyway, I think I should spoke about overall the advisors, not only those that got buffed. But let's talk about the advisors. So first of all, we should think about how advisors should be in the game, because when I consider advisors, and you just go into the quest, hey, H1 advisor does something, H2 advisor does something, H3 advisor, H4. And the thing is, how should we think about the advisors? Because for you improving your save, you usually use your gear. You just open up, hey, gear, you put it right there, improve your units directly through that. And then you have the advisors that are further improvement, which in my opinion, okay, it exists. And since we have the legendary quest where we fight the elite units, and the AI can spam a lot of elite units, I think it's completely fine if we have some extra buff. And advisors are one of that kind. Of course, there are also milestones, but milestones usually are not that great buff. But could be some discussion about those as well. But focus should be on the advisors here. And in my opinion, advisors should help you with your certain strategy. Hey, you have your units geared, you might have them a little bit adapted to certain situations, and then you might use advisors that help you with your situation even more. They should be you choose this advisor to help you in this situation, but then you might consider some other advisor for this situation. For example, in this case, you might need just, hey, let's just counter infantry better. In this case, could be hey, I need better economy, because hey, it's a little bit hard for me to keep up the production. But question should be to what level advisors, how powerful they should be. And in my opinion, there should be some power level, but it should not be hey, this advisor should be hey, let's instant win this. Okay, but especially with the absurd advisory work, I feel a lot of advisors just become so powerful that if you just have those, quests become super easier. And we're usually I mention legendary quests, which in that case it's definitely true. But if we have players who just, sure, they might not be that good, and they might prefer just normal repeatables or just some easier elites even, then if they just have this and they just can abuse it in those quests as well, how are they supposed to learn to play the game if they are not being put under pressure to actually and be pressure to improve themselves, give them a reason to play better, to learn to play better. If we just give them this huge power spike, and I think I was talking about it with the gear. Like, if we just give them powerful gear, and they can just win without like trying to improve their playstyle or like their gameplay, what's the point? And advisors in this case would be the similar. So let's talk about some of those problems that I see. And I said it. And in this, so number one, and there will be like usually some connection between those. Number one would be like how strong certain advisors can be. And in this case, it could be like how much, like what stats, like how strong the stats the advisors offer, how much they're giving to your units. And I think for this one, I can start with this one, Titus. Like after the Absurd Advisor rework, the power spike granted to Titus, like it's just super huge. Like suddenly going the health going to 35%, the movement speed going up to 35%, and then also increasing the ram damage against buildings. I know it's against buildings, but most of the rams attack only buildings, So overall, it is like increase against like the overall damage, And like 75% extra damage on rams, like even without this bonus damage, like if you just check out how much damage rams can do, and usually I recommend like the ram head of Gnome, the ram head of Gnome, and that's pretty much all damage I'm granting them. And if you just check out how hard they hit, it's already hitting like a Palintonon. And I'm not even joking, that the amount of damage rams can do with just the ram head of Gnome is just so similar to the Palintonon damage, The thing is, Palintonon has huge range, so they can stay safe. Rams need to get close. So I am understanding why they should be getting more health and movement speed, but I just cannot agree with like these numbers. And I think this is like a good example. And the other thing is, like, okay, you use rams, but what if you reach a point where rams are not that good anymore? And you might just get countered, like, hey, you might use it early game. And it will be like super easy to use, but what if suddenly, hey, you're playing against Norse and they train horsemen and those counter siege units, and suddenly, like, who cares if you have like 35% extra HP? Suddenly the horsemen can just arrive, and even with the movement speed, you're not gonna get away from those, and suddenly those rams will be dying, and so you'll stop producing the rams, and now you with an advisor that might be strong on paper, but in the end, like if you're not going with rams, like what's the point of the advisor now, But yeah, it's just an example. Of course, I would not suggest like going rams against Norse, but overall, I would prefer if rams could be used against the Norse as well, But like just with this, I just don't think this is the way, But overall, like if we consider some other quests, and we already had like Don't Cry quest reworked because of this. Like we got changes done to the quest because this advisor got so buffed. Suddenly, hey, someone just trained like few Babylonian siege towers, which are being affected by this, and suddenly, hey, they've been completing that quest in like 5 minutes. And that was supposed to be 4-star legendary quest. And suddenly, hey, because of this change. And by the way, that was one of those quests where I would say, going with rams was actually a good idea. And now because of the change, well, it is still a good idea to go with rams. But now there are war chariots that will just obliterate the rams. And since the patrols there also have the war chariots, it just became so much more, I would say, annoying when the patrol suddenly decides to attack the rams. Because the rams can suddenly die so fast. Because of the war chariots there. So one of the few quests where you would go rams and suddenly with this advisor became super strong, and then suddenly, hey, there's this one change, and suddenly, hey, it's bad again. Not only that, it might be even worse than that, But yeah, whatever. That was like one of change. But overall, I would say the strength of the advisors would be one thing, okay? And if you want some other examples, it would be the Camel Advisor Usared, who gives just like 30% damage, health, and bonus damage versus cavalry. Like, come on, so many stats just from that. Could be Ingrid with 20% health, damage, and crit chance. For the raiders, if you want something from the guilds, since I'm already here, could be like Akikodas, like, come on, 30% health and 20% crit chance for your longswordsman. That's a lot of stats. Could be Commontorius. I mean, come on, 30% more damage, more health, 60% damage against buildings. And then Carpentos also get attack range and line of sight, another 30%. Like, look at these numbers, like, what the hell? It's just so much, and we could probably find some other advisors as well. I would say Param is like there as well, or like Amunet, you know. And I dare to say, like, advisors should be brought down to some degree. But let's mention some advisors that are that have like those high numbers, but are not really that strong, you know. And one of them is definitely Heron, right here. Cavalry units see 75% farther and are 75% more resistant to snare. Now, let me ask you, how many times have you considered using Heron? Like, if I ever picked him, I was like, yeah, I just don't care about the H2 advisor, because this advisor is just, like, why? You know, like, cavalry see further, okay. I have watch posts that get like 100 plus line of sight, so why should I care? And usually, once you know the layout of the map, you don't really care too much about the line of sight. Like, I'm not saying line of sight would be necessarily like too bad, but it's not like, hey, you use line of sight and snare resistance in H2. Because what's the point of it? You know, like in H2, you're not really going to attack in H2. That you would need like snare resistance to be better protected from enemy spearmen or like any units with snare, you know. Because why? Well, there are usually walls that have like 20,000 health that you need to get through first, you know. So like overall, Heron like doesn't help with that, you know. And at the same time, like, why would I sacrifice like some H2 economy advisor just for this, you know? And another example would be like Prince Niall Mukmeron, like okay, cheaper storehouses, ox carts, but first question here, how many ox carts or storehouses do you actually get throughout the quest, you know? Like, it can be good early, but once you have more than enough income, like, who cares if you save just a little bit of wood and food? Like, I don't know, like 10 minutes in when your income is just so huge, you know. Build train time, yeah, okay, but usually you can get gear for your villagers that you don't care. And the faster research, I mean, okay, faster research, but I would rather make the techs cheaper because they are very useful if I can get them as soon as possible. But the thing that's like stopping me is just the cost, you know. Like, have you seen the cost of those techs? Like, yeah, it's nice to get them, but you still need to pay for them, you know. And in that case, like, why here when I can go Irene, you know? But yeah, that would be like the thing of the advisors. Now, due to the strength of the advisors, and it does not even need to be like too much better, okay? But let me mention advisors directly being overshadowed, you know? Like, as an example, you have an advisor, could be just a generic advisor that every civ gets, does something, and then you find like a lot of like advisors that do the same thing or something similar or buffs the same unit, but that advisor does it much better for you than this certain advisor. And just so you have an example, Theocoles. This is a perfect example of an advisor where he grants 15% health to your infantry. And since I'm here as scouts, this is actually a good example because Sure, I wouldn't mind using Theocles. In my opinion, it's a pretty okay advisor to use. But then you have like, okay, consider Celts. What do you have for your infantry? Spearmen, longswordsmen, wolf traders, and champion. 3 of these units have a dedicated advisor. Here, Bran. What does Bran do? Wolf traders have 15% more health, or weight, and 25% crit chance. What about here, Brenos? Okay, that's for champions. Champions are immune to snare, which is very useful since champions already have quite low speed. Attack and move 15% faster. So attack rate, which means more DPS output, very useful. Champions are not like struggling with their health necessarily. Like in some cases they could struggle, but overall, like if I can just get to the target faster thanks to the movement speed and snare immunity, it's not a huge deal. Doesn't have to be perfect, but hey, it still works. And then you do just more damage overall. Yeah, why pick Theocles over this, you know? Why? Like if I wanted more health, I just put more health on the champions, you know, through the gear. And that's it. And then already mentioned, Akikorios longswordsmen have 30% more health and gain 20% crit chance. I mean, come on. What is this? Like it's not like this feels so unfair towards Theocles, you know? And this is just the Celts, okay? If we take a look at the other civs, like yeah, I could consider like Greeks, but in their case, I don't really care too much about the health. I would rather support the backline to do enough damage, because if I consider like Hippaspis or Hoplites, both of these units can do really good job as a tank, you know? Like they can so good amount of damage, especially like Hoplites versus spears, Hippaspis versus infantry, you know? They can do the job. It's rather the backline that needs to do the job of killing, and at that moment you just go with ballistas and grab Themistocles, you know, and suddenly, hey, you're killing everything with ballistas, you know, and that's it, you know. Egyptians, what do you have as Egyptians? That's literally Sobek, literally legendary advisor Sobek. Okay, we mentioned Celts. Persians, this one depends because we have one advisor for the Sparabara, which is the Kaveh right now. We have for Immortals, that's Esfandiar, and yeah, Spearman, okay. Which, in case of Celts, yeah, probably Spearman would be there as well, but because in the latest advisor rework, and I'm not gonna continue, okay? Just so you get the picture of like how it looks for Theocles. In case of like Celtic Spearman, I might even consider Agamemnon at this moment, because you get 5% health, 5% damage, and 5% crit chance, which means more than 10% DPS output, on average, of course. So yeah, would you rather 15% health or 10% damage for your Spearman as Celts? And remember, the Celtic Spearmen are a glass cannon spears, so it might be better just further support the damage output rather than their health, you know, like what is the 15% health in their case, you know, in comparison to the 10% damage, you know. And yeah, like Theocles is like one example. I'm gonna try to think something else, but there might be. Right, Thorhild. So you remember Thorhild, that advisor for Norse ranged units that got moved from H3 to H2. Now she's like competing with Guyana. Now I need to correct myself a little bit, because I was talking about that advisor like I like that, hey, going against some advisor doing a little bit better. I need to correct myself a little bit, because I realized like what's the point of having the other advisor if you just have a better advisor, you know? Like I feel like if I have this advisor, there should be a reason for me to pick the advisor if I want to, you know? Like if I want to do something like with Guyana, I want to go ranged units, for example. She should be a viable option. But with Thorhild, currently in H2, like why would I go with Guyana over Thorhild, you know? And so I'm gonna correct myself. I don't like if what the advisor does is doing better than the other advisor, but I like it when it does it for a specific unit. Okay, if Thorhild was doing it specifically just, let's say, for skirmishers, I would say okay, no problem with that. But since Thorhild affects both bowmen and skirmishers, yeah, I would say that is not alright with me, okay? So just a little correction from me. But yeah, Thorhild versus Guyana, that's another example if you want, like, of these advisors. And yeah, let's talk about the another thing, which in my opinion has become like, especially lately, you know, like, I don't know like how many advisor reworks would it be, but definitely the latest, and then it could be like 1, 2 previous advisory works, and that is how many stats, or yeah, I would say how many stats is a single advisor affecting, or how many effects a single advisor has. And again, it could be like connected like to how strong the advisor is, but just goddamn, have you seen like some advisors, like how many effects certain advisors have? Because back in the day, like I would say advisors would have like, you know, like one main effect and then maybe something some side effect, or it could be like two main effects, whatever, you know. But it would be like, let's say, two effects max, although I don't have like the exact, you know, overview like of what the advisors did back in the day. So yeah, let's say they did like two effects, you know, like if I had to say something, what would be like a good example? Like let's say, you know, we have Darius, you know, towers get 30% attack range and line of sight. Completely fine. Okay, Zante, okay, that one would be a good example. Fortresses have 50% more health. That used to be a thing. And then they used to have only line of sight, but now Zante also has like attack rate and attack range as well. So like suddenly from 2 effects to 4 effects, you know. Now Zante is still like pretty weak, you know, in comparison to something like this, which is the Commontori, as already mentioned, you know. So we have effect for Horsemen and Carpentoms. Whatever. Let's just consider the Carpentoms because there's more to it. So more damage, more health, bonus damage versus buildings, attack range, and line of sight. You have 5 goddamn effects here. 5 goddamn effects. Like, what? This is like one great example, okay? Because commentators used to be just 3, you know, just the damage, health, and bonus damage. But the latest change actually added the range and line of sight. Like, what? Why do we need like 5 effects on this advisor? Titus, yeah, those are 3 effects. But what about this one? Hang on. Divitiacus. Okay. Gold mines are available in Bronze Age, cost less, more conservation, villagers gather gold faster from gold mines. That's 4 effects, okay? But still, pretty strong effects, okay? Let me just go with this one, okay. Cartimandua, this one is something I wrote down specifically. Okay, druids and ogres train in 40% less time, have 40% more health, move 30% faster, heal 30% farther, sacred grows cost 50% less, and spawn a free sacred deer every 15 seconds. That's 6 effects on a single advisor? Really? I mean, seriously, why do we need 6 effects on a single advisor? Why? Why so many? Because people are not picking that advisor, and then we need to just buff it, And this is what we get. Six effects on a single advisor. Why? Now, why is this a problem? Number one, advisors becoming super strong again. But number two, and this is what I see as a problem, especially when you consider like how many advisors are in the game, this is kind of killing options for the other advisors, like what kind of stats they can have. Like instead of like having, let's say Kandimandua would be like Sacred Groves cost less, spawn free Sacred Deer, and then just having like another advisor that is like druids and ogres train, or like Sacred Grove units train in less time and have more health, you know. And then you could have another advisor which is like, hey, druids actually heal faster and farther. Something like that, you know, or move faster and heal farther, whatever. It just feels like, okay, you have so much on a single advisor. Why? This is where I feel like, man, this is like seriously gone too far, you know. Like 6 effects. This is insane. And then we have Commontorius with 5 effects, you know. We have Divitiacus with 4 strong effects, you know. And I could probably find some other advisors. Do I have something wrote down here? Yeah, I just wrote down Cartimandua because this felt like a perfect example. But Cyric, what is it? Like more resistant to crash, bonus damage, so 2 effects, more health, and Fortress is available in Bronze Age. So yeah, 3 effects here. Now, if the effects were actually very similar to like, I wouldn't say like, okay, if I'm affecting like single building unit, you know, and it's like, okay, it's for the specific unit, like for example, hey, let's have like more units, okay, so like cost, training time, I have an understanding. This guy is basically doing like crash, bonus damage, and health, so like 3 defensive stats, okay, but it's like 2 of those will most likely work together, like for example against rams, and then you have health which is gonna work against rams. Like why do we like triple counter rams here, you know, like why, you know? But yeah, overall, like my issue here is like advisors have so many stats. My question is whether it wouldn't be better to just, you know, like find some proper stats to put together and make the advisor viable, you know, like through that, instead of just, you know, like, let me ask you, how many times have you actually picked city just to get the fortresses? Because in my opinion, you're not really going to do that. Why go fortress when you have towers? And at that moment, like, why go with city when you can go punch, you know? And this is where I feel like, you know, like, why? Okay, but yeah. Yeah, that reminded me, like, one thing, and I didn't write it down, and since I have Cyric here, this could be another thing that I have issue with, and that is, you have an effect on advisor that is properly scaling, you know, like the common, uncommon, rare, epic, but you have an effect that is the same, like through all those rarities, you know. As Cyric here is actually a perfect example, because if I have common Cyric, I also get the fortresses available in Bronze Age. I get the uncommon, rare, epic. Doesn't matter. It's the same effect, you know. I get the fortresses in Bronze Age. It does not scale. It does not improve in any way. It just, you just get it with the white one. So I have to ask, why should I be even bother getting epic one if I just get the fortress with the white one, you know? And Cyric is like one example. The other example would be like the Leonidas right now. If I remember correctly, Leonidas grants +2 attack range to hoplites, and that is common to all 4 rarities, you know. Like if at least there was like scaling like +1, +1, +2, +2, you know, like common, uncommon, rare, epic. At least that can work, you know, to some degree. But like these effects where you get fortress sooner or like the gold mine sooner with the Divitiacus, like what? Why? You know, like why? Now, if it was like specific advisors, like for example, legendary advisors, in their case, I think it would be okay because you have like the one rarity. So there is no scaling for those advisors. So in their case, it would be understandable if they had those, you know. But when you have like the scaling advisors, now it does not have to be like necessarily legendary because we still have advisors like from the skirmish, you know, and those are epic only. So in their case, I would understand if they did the same thing, you know, like if I had like let's say village elder doing the gold mines 1H sooner, which of course nonsense, you know, that's not gonna work because village elder is for every if not only Celts. But in case of fortress, like village elder being the advisor with the defensive strategy, you know, like getting the fortresses 1H sooner through village elder would be understandable, you know. That would be understandable, and since you have epic rarity only, you know, like it would make sense if that would be the case for the skirmish advisors. But like for an advisor that scales normally, like these effects, in my opinion, should not be there at all. Maybe we could finally, like, you know, increase the advisor roster for the skirmish finally, you know. Could be an option, but yeah, that's another thing I forgot about to put down here on my list. But yeah, another issue, and this one could be a little bit confusing but let's say this way: you have advisor, it does something. Let's say, hey, suddenly you get more gold. Doesn't matter, caravans, gold mining, whatever. Then you have another advisor in the same age, and suddenly, hey, your units cost less gold. Okay. And then you have another advisor that does, hey, everything costs less gold, you know. Now you might be getting me right now, but the thing I'm talking about is advisors that have very similar effect, very similar, and just, how should I put it, like the difference between them could be like quite small, but they are like competing with each other within the same age. And it makes me wonder, why not just spread them across the ages, you know? And you might be wondering what I'm talking about. Now, since I'm already age 2, let's say like, hey, you have the sergeants, okay? So you have the Timon, Herbolaos, and Heraclitus, affecting their specific unit types, but they are reducing their costs, okay, by a certain percentage, okay? Which means those units cost less food, wood, gold. So let's focus on the gold, okay? So let's say Heraclitus minus 15% gold cost for infantry units, okay? Let's go through H2. What other advisors are competing here with the gold income, okay? And let's just focus like infantry right now, okay? Not really economy. Oh hey, there is one, Dunodix. Because 8% faster caravans means 8% more gold income from those caravans, okay? So that's 8%. It's not as strong as with Heraclius, because if we consider like 15% discount instead being like 17-18% more gold overall, yeah, the Dunodix is pretty weak in that case. But hey, with Dunodix you save for the caravans cost, you know. Okay, it is an option, you know. Let's move on. What else we got here? Oh, hey, Muikmeron. All units and upgrades cost 20% less gold, which you can say, hey, suddenly you have like 25% more gold from old gold sources. Gold mining, caravans, trading on water, whatever. But yeah, overall, 25% more gold. Let's move on. Okay, could be considered like cheaper tanks, whatever. Xeno, here. Caravans trade for 30% more gold and trade in less time, of course. But it is the trade value. I mean, come on. We already got like 6 advisors, 7 advisors. 6 advisors. They are doing very similar effect, saving gold for me. And they are competing with each other within the same age. Okay, let's move on. Do we have something else here? Probably not here on this save, but you might also consider like Indians with Param, where Param just generates more gold from sacred cows and the shrines, which again is going against these advisors, just better gold income, you know, better gold economy, I should say. Like, goddamn, that's so many advisors here in the same age, like competing with each other, you know. Like, why? Why do we have so many gold advisors here? And just so you know, Zeno used to be H4, you know, like he used to be H4, and also just 20% gold trade. That was all he did, you know. Muikmenon was always about like saving gold, but then there was Dumnorix with cheaper caravans. I think that should have gone down definitely. Like cost from 50% to 25%. I feel like it was a little bit too much. I would prefer if it went down a little bit slower, like first down to 35% and then maybe down to 30. I don't know if 25 was completely correct, but whatever, it was decided. Movement speed, like I was okay with 10%, but like yeah, 8% is completely fine with me, you know. But then we got like Zeno moved in here and buffed, and so like why pick Dumnorix then when Zeno exists, you know? And then Muikmenon got buffed, yeah, and so on, you know. And just because, hey, you get more gold from Zeno and save more gold with Muikmenon, like suddenly you can save on caravans because now you don't need that many caravans. So hey, even saving food and wood from that. So yeah, suddenly like we nerfed Dumnorix, but the idea was supposed to be like Dumnorix just becoming weaker, not being completely destroyed by the other advisors, you know, like come on. But yeah, like the main thing I wanted to point out is we have so many advisors in within the same age doing the same thing, you know. And it's not just these advisors. I could also say, hey, Todd here saving food. What else we got? Akape, yeah, he's mainly about saving the wood from the farms, you know. But at the same time, because you can get your farms earlier, suddenly you have better food income, you know. So it kind of goes against thought, you know. What else is considered? Also, I forgot, Pericles is for the gold as well, because carry capacity here and movement speed for merchant transports. So yeah, we could consider even Pericles here to go against the gold advisors. But yeah, let's focus on the food. Yeah, Heracleides is here. I mean, Divitiacus to some degree with the free sacred deer, but yeah, Hermolaos, yeah, that would be like food. Yeah, so like you have what, 4 advisors here. Dumnorix could be considered as well, you know. 4 advisors here for the food. Very similar, you know. Or how about the defensive ones, you know, like, okay, I mentioned Cyric. Then you have Bass focused on walls, but Cyric is granting them like more resistance to crash, bonus damage, health. So Bass is making the walls cheaper build faster, and getting 20% more health as well. I mean, most likely walls will be taking damage. I'm not expecting like a lot of other structures taking damage, but it could be towers and fortresses, of course. But in this case, let's focus on the walls. Yeah, super resistant walls, cheaper, faster built, more resistant walls, and then could be considered also like combatis with the 10% health here, and buildings being cheaper. You know, like okay, you don't get cheaper walls, but you still affect their health, you know? Again, a very similar effect in this case. So yeah. I don't think there's anything else worth mentioning, but yeah, maybe punch. Hey, towers do more damage. Enemy units die sooner. Your walls don't take that much damage. Yeah, could be considered as well. But yeah, again, like, you have three very similar effects, you know? And I see that as a problem, like, why not just spread it across the ages, you know? And this brings me to the last point I want to mention, and that is, how many times have you gone with this, like, formula of advisor? You pick H1, something for economy, then you pick H2, something for economy, and then you pick H3, something for military, and H4 something for military, something like this. Okay, maybe this will be better. Okay, how many times have you done something like this? Or maybe you gone like this, you know? I mean, could be something like this. So let me ask you, how many times have you gone like economy, military? How many times have you done something different? Like, let's say economy, military. How many times have you done that? Or maybe you just want to focus more on the military. So how many times have you done? I mean, it's possible, but let's be honest. How many times have you done economy, military? How many times? And how good did it feel? Because I bet it did not feel that good, because you would rather just build up really fast, get your tax, and just destroy the enemy as soon as possible, right? Not saying it cannot work, but let's be honest. You are usually going to pick economy H1, economy H2, and then military. There are a few exceptions, of course. Like, for example, if I decided to go with towers, which I'm not really recommending towers that much, but it is possible to go with towers. Usually you will go with punch, H2, and then H3 you will go Bolgios. That is one exception. If you go ranged units, then you go Guyana H2, then you go Sohrab H3, and then whatever advisor you have available to you in H4, you know. That is possible. In my case, it would be like Ambiorix or Comontorius. Yeah, those are like exceptions, but let's consider cavalry, infantry, maybe something else as well. Usually you will go with economy, and in case of range, it's always going to be like economy, military. And like, I kept wondering why is that, you know? Like, but then you look at the H3, like, what economy advisor is there for you, you know? So let's take a look. Okay, not economy, no. So strate could be considered. Okay. Bolgios could be considered, but since they both affect defensive structures, you will most likely not really go with them, because, like, why, you know? Like, unless you need a lot of defenses, I don't think you will ever go with these two. Okay, there is one, honestly, for us, if you need fast golden age. That is one. That one is pretty okay. Ligeia is okay, but the question is, how many siege units do you actually train? Pitas could be okay, but yeah, that's naval quest only. And question is, how many times do you pick Pitas over Ammon, you know, because of the maximum range? I bet usually you just go with Ammon, you know. In some cases, yeah, you pick Battleship Pip, and in that case, yeah, it could be questioned whether Pitas or Battleship Pip. That could be questioned, but yeah. Ahapitep, Priest economy, okay. But let's be honest, how many times do you pick Ahapitep over Mehrab, like cheaper, faster produced priests, or just more powerful priests? I'll bet with more powerful priests overall. We move on, okay. So, yeah, Pitas could be there, theoretically. There is Sophia. For me personally, I don't like Sophia because of the goddamn increased carry capacity. It just feels like, ugh. You're delaying the drop-off quite a lot, but okay. Stefanos is here, but again, defensive structures, And that's it, like, okay. So, what did I find? It was Onesiphorus. It was Pitas, which is only water maps. And then it's Sophia, who I don't really like, like, what? Okay, some civs have their specific advisors. Some cases, yes. But at the same time, I have to ask, like, how strong those advisors are, But if I consider, like, here, Celts, what are my options? Why would I go, like, Onesiphorus or Sophia? I can imagine Onesiphorus in some cases. But usually, yeah, like, why would I go with Onesiphorus over Pamphilos, And then Sophia, like, am I really in such a need for the food from the farms? Like, if I just pick Todd H2, I just get cheaper infantry, and at that moment, like, do I need even more? Usually not, because Celtic infantry usually destroys enemies, And then you have H4. Okay, what are economy here? Wonders built for less, like 75% less. If there was a reason to build wonders, this could be probably picked more often. Let's be honest. Tycho is not going to be picked unless you have a reason to build a wonder. And in a lot of quests, in most of those quests, you don't even need Tycho. You can manage without Tycho. Which is funny, like, yeah, if you struggle, sure, Tycho is there, but if you're fast enough, Tycho is like, whatever, Okay, no economy. You get Boudica, okay. Okay, you get 4 units of each resource per second, like, okay, that's nice, but at the same time, like, when you have enough caravans, you can just buy everything, 4 food per second, like, who cares, like, I would rather have, like, 4 more farmers, because that's not huge population loss, Wood, okay, it is nice, but usually I kill off the wood gatherers, so I have bigger army. Stone, usually buy when I gathered all I needed, and if I need more, I just buy, And gold, yeah, caravans are just so super efficient. So, like, Burica, like, why bother, And that's the thing. Like, H3, H4 feel like so lacking in their economy advisors. That's why you will probably never see, like almost never see H3, H4 economy advisors unless you have some very specific, strong, safe specific advisor, like Gerda, for example, for Babylonians, or Gladius, the gladiator, for the Romans, like, yeah, those 2 advisors I can imagine. Or Crassus H4, like, I can imagine picking that advisor, of course. But again, like, really strong advisors, and those are going to be pretty much my only options in those ages. Like, that's pretty much it, If I want economy, those are my only options. I'm missing a variety here. And similarly, I could speak about, like, H1, H2 with the military options here. Like, okay, I mentioned ranged units. Yeah, Guyana is going to be really dominant there because everyone just prefers maximum range. But infantry, cavalry, like, okay, Leonorio spearmen, but usually spearmen late game not really great option, so not really that great for me. I mean, these are pretty much economy, and that's it, like my only military option is Leonorius, but like spearmen in late game in most quests are not a good option. Like, yeah, some specific builds, sure, but like overall, like, why going with spearmen when I have so many better options? And then let's take a look at H2. Okay, what is like really military? Guyana is one. Okay, Heron already mentioned, like, why picking him? Like, no reason. Hyginus, free health per second, not that much. That's not that much for legendary quests. Like, goddamn. Armor again, like, not that much HP regen. That's it. Okay, druids, augurs, questionable. Whether I would want to pick that. 7% movement speed. I mean, usable, but is it that good enough for me to to replace like Thought, or Muikmeron? Like, is it good enough reason for me to replace those advisors? I don't think so. So yeah, as you can see, no really good options. And this is where I feel like, again, another issue, I feel like there is a lack of variety in those like advisor combinations. So overall, I would like to see more something like economy military, something like that, or like military economy military. Like, I would love to see that being an option, but as you can see, we don't have that. It's literally, I dare to say, empty, like, unless you have some very specific advisor, like Useret, for example. Again, already mentioned him. Very strong advisor for your camels. Like, no other military. And yeah, like, if I want to play Greeks, I want something military, and like, come on, do I really have to go with like Lycurgus? Like, really? If I'm fighting a lot of cavalry units, I don't really need Lycurgus. That's very specific. And yeah, okay, Minos is here, but again, it's like for spearmen only. Like, really? Like I said, not that great option. And that's gonna be the last thing. I don't know if I could come up with another issue, but yeah, those are the issues I wanted to point out, okay? So overall, strength of the advisors, overshadowing the other advisors. For example, Theocles being overshadowed by all those Celtic infantry advisors, So many effects on a single advisor. Okay. Effects that are like the same for all rarities. Many similar advisors, or advisors with very similar effect. And then the goddamn repetitive formula of economy, military. This is where I feel like, like the advisors, like, because of the last one, yeah, I feel like all the same. It feels all the same. And when you eat the same food for a long while, yeah, you would start disliking it. And this is where I feel like, advisors are like one of those. It is like one of the things in the game that could be like, instead of just having so many strong advisors, like, that you just pick those, like, not even thinking. I would rather prefer seeing like more varieties where I can like go with different combinations, with different builds, where I can like decide, do I want better economy early or do I want it later, but I will get better military in H2. Like, I want a variety here, like thinking about like what I could do, like some things. And another thing like when you have like these strong advisors, I have to question, wouldn't it be better to just buff the unit if it feels so weak? Wouldn't it be better to just buff the unit? And to be honest, World Raider is not a good example, but for example, the North Skirmisher is just a weak unit on its own. And even if we just give it 75% damage increase through the advisor, it's just going to be bad unit anyway, you know? Like, how many of you have actually tried Skirmisher with Thorhild in H2 with just the Skirmishers, you know? I bet you just never even bothered. I said it, you know, but if you just try it out, you'll see why I said it, you know? So, again, I have to ask, wouldn't it be just better to buff the units? And the answer is, it might be better, but then, hey, you would have to fight with those units in quests as well, you know, and those would get buffed. And I wonder, why didn't it happen? Because we have the unit like Skirmisher being really weak, you know, and in their case, like, I wouldn't mind if they got a little bit better with their damage output, you know, instead of like improving range for every single entire range unit, you know, like, why? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna quit. But tell me, what do you think? Like, would you agree with me? Do you feel like maybe I'm wrong? You know, like, these are my opinions. You know, I want to know your opinion. But yeah, I just feel like a lot of these things, if they like changed, it would make the game more interesting overall, with just not being the same thing all over again. Like, yeah, someone might discover like a build and they might like it, but like, I feel like I would rather have like different combinations, you know, different varieties of those builds, you know. Like, goddamn, can you imagine what could it be like? I mean, can you imagine if I could like move, let's say, Zeno to H3 and then like Muikmeron in H2 and having like really strong economy, of course, within the reasonable values, you know. But yeah, having like the caravan advisors move to H3, because like at least I would get some options for the H3, you know, like having it there. Right now, it just does not feel that good when the economy advisors here practically do not exist. And same goes for the military over here, you know. Man, just tell me, what do you think, okay? Do you agree with me? Do you feel like, hey, maybe something different? And yeah, just tell me your opinion, you know? Like, I wanna know your opinions. Like, let's hear the discussion, you know? And yeah, make sure to check out my gear video, because yeah, that one is also very nice, and I would prefer if the discussion about the gear would continue as well, you know. But anyway, yeah, that's gonna be all from me for now. Hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, tell me your opinions. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and yeah, this was Psychosaurus. I'll see you next time. Bye.